most students, they don't struggle because they're not able to. They struggle because it's not clear. It's a fog. So they need guidance. So this initiative is to try to give the guidance counselor that students deeply need, that the masjid provides these resources, inshallah. So at the end, inshallah, we'll have quite a few tangibles that the youth can benefit from. Talent without direction is wasted potential. So high school guidance is not optional, it's really essential. Every decision somebody makes in high school has long-term consequences. Their college eligibility, their scholarships, their doors open for certain career pathways based on the decisions they make. So why do we need a guidance counselor? Because in schools, the guidance counselors are very, very busy and they're not able to give a lot of one-on-one attention to the kids. So having this in the masjid will give more attention to those kids. And parents cannot do this alone. The system is very complex. I know this because I've been in a high school system for a long time now. It keeps changing all the time. College, trades, certifications, financial aid. It's not what it used to be. It used to be you just choose a career and it's quite easy. Now it's very complicated. So it's not about, putting any pressure on the kids. It's just about giving options to the kids. Students need guidance, not so they can aim higher necessarily, but they can aim smarter and they can spend their time making the right choices. When students lack directions, they end up taking random classes that don't really align with their goals. They miss deadlines with regards to registration or re-enrollment or when they have to send recommendations and all these paperwork that they have to do. Some of them drop out of college, some of them graduate without a plan, and so some of them feel lost, and then from lost they start feeling disengaged, and then they give up on their courage, on their college or their career. And feeling lost for a student, for a high schooler or college, doesn't mean you're behind. It just means that you need a map. So I have advice for the youth, but I guess we don't have too many of them in the audience today. But if you want to convey this to the youth, and I asked them to turn on the live, so if this is going live, then the youth can see. And we have some of the sisters are here. So the first piece of advice for the youth is know yourself. Okay, grades matter, but actually in this world, especially in America, interests, dedication, and values matter more than grades. So be mindful where you volunteer for, and your volunteering should be consistent with what you want to do. And that doesn't mean you can't change your mind, it's just be consistent and make smart choices even in your volunteering hours. And self-reflection, get to know yourself and take personality tests. You can't take them too early. There's no too early to take personality tests. I have two logos here on the slides. Yaqeen Institute has a personality test. And then the 16 personalities is one of the professionals that they use. Advice number 2, your choices, they stack. They're not random. So make sure that you always think about the next step. Each step might seem small to you, but it's actually an important step. So, classes to opportunities to confidence and then future options. Successful students ask questions sooner. Waiting is an expensive mistake. And the third piece of advice I have for students is don't chase titles, chase the skills. Focus on communication, problem solving, time management, learning how to learn, because careers change, but those skills are going to follow with you, inshallah. 2 slides, 1 slide? Yes, last 2 slides. So the goal here is to give ongoing guidance at the masjid to the students, so they can come to us and they can get support in their career choices, get support for their well-being, and get support as Brother Rehan is going to explain a little more in detail, inshallah. Students, successful student, what success look like? Students know what classes they want to take and why. They have 2 or 3 realistic post-high school options. They feel confident asking questions, and they have adults outside of their family who are rooting for them. And so this is what we want to do. We want it takes a village to raise a child. So we want the masjid to be that for our kids, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan. We'll have Q&A at the end of all three, inshallah.
Sure.
Sounds good? Jazakumullahu khairan. Inshallah. So Brother Rehan Rashid was in the military for some time, and now he's a pilot for American Airlines. And he is, I'm sorry, this is the part I should have mentioned. He's here representing Compete in Goodness, which is a platform that the masjid is partnering with to be able to offer these services to the kids for free, inshallah.
Thank you, Brother Michael. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. I'm honored to be here. Once again, Rehan Rashid. I'm a captain on the Boeing 737 at American Airlines. And tonight I'm going to be talking about the Rise High Mentorship Program. Specifically, it's a platform that is a part of the Compete in Goodness platform. And it's an amazing opportunity for our youth to actually incubate their ideas and, a safe place for them to grow and learn. And with that, we're going to continue learning and evolving, giving our youth this opportunity, something I wish I had when I was growing up. The key takeaway here, success isn't a solo journey. So everybody on this screen here that you see is one of the mentors that is in this program. And every one of these people are experts in their profession. They got to their level of their profession not by themselves. Every success story starts with guidance. And that's what this platform, Compete in Goodness, specifically the Rise High Mentorship Program, is focused on doing, is trying to give our youth that opportunity to grow and excel in an environment that may not provide the opportunity to grow. So with that, let's talk about mentorship. What is mentorship? Usually there's some negative connotation as far as what mentorship is. Some children here, if the children were here, I would ask them, what is your definition of mentorship and what do you think? And oftentimes when I do ask that, I ask my 13-year-old son when I practice this talk tonight, what was his definition of mentorship? And the first thing he tells me is like, you telling me what to do all the time. Well, it's not that, right? It's not about me telling you what to do or uncle telling you what to do or whatnot. It's not only about career, and nor is it only about education or trying to kids who are struggling in school. What mentorship is, it's an opportunity to get some guidance. You may have ideas in your mind that you want to explore, but don't know how to go about starting that venture. What better way to find somebody who has already walked your steps to, find out, how do I make the first step? Usually the first step is the hardest step to walking the path and getting to your end goal. Mentorship can be not only personal, but it can be academic and also professional growth. In the next slide, I'm going to tell you about my personal story going through and becoming a pilot here at American Airlines. I didn't do this all by myself. And as I reflect on my journey to where I am today, my earliest memories of becoming a pilot stem back to my father. He was my first mentor. He recognized that I had this passion for anything that flew, whether it was an airplane or a helicopter. It could have been a kite or a plastic bag floating through the air. I was just amazed by whatever was in the air. And based on that, my father would take us to air shows. We used to live in Houston, Texas. So every year when the air show would come to Houston, we would watch the United States Navy Blue Angels fly their airplanes or the Air Force Thunderbirds fly their airplanes, and the sound of screaming engines across the sky, doing all kinds of aerobatics. For me, that was just so inspirational. I knew one day that I wanted to do that. We lived in Houston, like I said just a little while ago, so NASA was very close. My dad would take me to NASA, and I would just dream about maybe being an astronaut, blasting off to the moon. It was those first impressions, that guidance that my father gently provided, that now when I reflect on, really set the course for my career path. As many young children do as they grow older, they kind of go left and right off the path, but ultimately they will find their way. And as did I. I studied computer science at the University of Texas in Austin, and quite honestly, after 2 years of doing that, I realized I wasn't going to be a computer scientist. So after that, I decided, what am I going to do? And you know what? The guidance that I had received from my father, my mentor, I fell back on that. I realized that I had a passion. And what he did for me in those early years, not only did he take me to the air shows, but he took me to the military bases. He introduced me to other pilots. I got to walk a day in the life of an Air Force pilot at Ellington Air Force Base. I got to meet other pilots in the commercial sector. I was immersed in that life, and I learned from that, and that further solidified my decision to make a career change and pursue that aviation as my career. So I decided I had two paths to go. Either I go private or I go military. Oftentimes in our culture, in our society, military option is usually not the first option, but let me tell you, it is an option, and it's something to hold your head up high for, because we do live in this country, and we do raise our children here, we make our bread and butter here, and so we have every right to do what we need to do to survive in this country and be a part of it. And for me, that was 9/11. I was at a critical, pivotal point at that point. Do I continue to go private, learn to fly private, or do I serve my nation? And I chose the latter. I served 20 years in the Marine Corps, where I learned to fly. After I served 20 years, I ended up getting out, and I had the opportunity to become a commercial airline pilot. Along the way, whether it was aviation on the civilian side, whether it was aviation in the military, or even my personal growth. And I can tell you, one of my mentors is sitting back there, the person who started this platform, Compete in Goodness. I learned so much from just having conversations with him. In my leadership, in my military career, 20 years, each step of my promotion to my rank, I had somebody who was higher than me that helped me and guided me to help me get to the 20-year retirement. On the personal level, I'm always looking at something or someone to find that I can learn from. What mentorship gives you is the ability to take that motivation, turn it into discipline, and then achieve your goals. I used to hate when my father would say, just listen to me and you'll save yourself a lot of headache. But as I've grown older, I've realized that when you have a mentor, it is true. You avoid the costly mistakes. Somebody's already done it. Why reinvent the wheel? So that's just a synopsis of my journey to becoming a pilot. Happy to discuss after this brief, but for me, having a mentor was critical. Navigating the professional world, the three things that I'd like to pass on is that exposure comes before excellence. What does that mean? I think a lot of our children, our youth, they are brilliant. There are some brilliant minds out there. They have all the resources that they need. As Brother Michael was saying, sometimes they just don't have the direction. They don't know the next steps, what to do. Maybe they hit a roadblock. Maybe they don't know how to take that first step. What this mentorship program does is it allows you to have exposure, to be surrounded by the things that you're passionate about, or even just and curious about. You don't have to be the best at something right now, but getting the maximum exposure allows you to make a better decision in the way you want to go in your life. Talent opens doors. Sure. You know what? Let's just take sports, for example. You could be a talented sports footballer and maybe make the team, but if you don't have good character, you're not going to stay on the team. The team will kick you off. That's the same way in your career path as well. You may have the talent to get the initial job, but if you don't have the character to continue on and to develop yourself in your personal growth, that door can close very quickly. But that's what a mentor is there for, to help you navigate that career path, to help you keep you on the right path by maybe just having a simple conversation, getting perspective. Finally, no one succeeds alone. I think that's the point that we're all trying to make, that we're here for you guys, whatever that may be, even if it's as small as just having a small conversation, or maybe there's something that I know that you don't know and I'm happy to share, or any of the other mentors that are in this program. So, what I urge our youth to do, and even our adults that are here, you guys as adults can rise up to the occasion. Become a mentor. Become involved in this community as you are. Help the youth. This platform that has been created is here for all of you to take advantage of. There's a QR code. Go ahead and take out your phones and scan it, and I'll do the same with mine. But this is just a resource at your fingertip. Boy, I wish I had this resource when I was growing up, because it would have been very impactful. As you see this platform, you'll see that it has a program overview. Specifically, it's a great initiative to gain practical guidance, to network, and to build opportunities that will support you in your career. Very easy. There's just a few steps. All you got to do is review some of the mentorship opportunities with mentors that have volunteered for this program. Learn about your mentor. There's a biography on the website for each mentor. Pick a date, fill out the form, and then check your email. As of right now, we have a mentor in aviation, cloud computing, cybersecurity, engineering, finance, IT, law, and medicine. There you go. So with that being said, what are you going to do? This is a call to action. Tell your kids about this amazing opportunity. We're here for you, and we are happy to help in any way possible. Once again, I thank you so much for allowing me to speak tonight. Jazakallah. Happy to answer any questions at this time. No, I finished my degree in computer science, and then I joined the Marine Corps. No, so in the Marine Corps, you have two different tracks. You have a track which is you can go right after 18 after high school, but then there's a officer track in which you have to have a college degree. And so I completed my degree in computer science, and then I went off to the military as an officer. I was a helicopter and a transport. So I flew CH-53s, which are a cargo transport helicopter, and then I flew the C-130. commercial airliner. All right, any questions? Thank you so much.
I think there's another group which is having a expo for youth, and I'm part of that. Masjid is part of on the emotional, and they're trying to have entrepreneurship and mentorship, all the stuff. I got your website, contact.
Sure, and absolutely.
That is on 4th of April.
All right, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Jazakallah khair for your talk today. I'm gonna, if what Brother Rehan today was talking about building up our youth and giving them a platform and giving them opportunities and, you know, giving them a structure to which to climb up, I'm going to be talking about kind of the foundation, the bedrock, so to speak, what you have to have below that to kind of help our kids climb up that ladder, so to speak, okay? And the first thing I want to, the first thing we need to do is really understand what social and emotional well-being is, because that's the topic today for me, right? What is this well-being that we talk about? And I'll split it up into two, right? So emotional well-being, what does that mean? That means the ability to understand, manage, express our feelings, all right? To not be reactive, to not get triggered, to have a sense of resilience, to not be devoid of stress in our life, but to be able to handle it, to be able to bounce back from it, right? Because we as human beings are not created to just coast through life, right? We're gonna have struggles, we're gonna have difficulties in a bunch of different ways. What we need to have as we get older are the tools to handle that stress, to deal with it effectively. And so that's kind of emotional well-being. Social well-being kind of is more about having healthy relationships, being able to communicate with people effectively. And overall, just to have a place to belong. And you know, and that sense of belonging is so critical. I'm looking at you guys, I feel like most here are immigrant parents, at least. I was the child of immigrant parents. And I think for the children of immigrants growing up in this country, to have a sense of belonging is so very important. And if our masajid and our communities can provide that, it is really an important building block to give them a sense of well-being, to carry with them, to then achieve these things that Brother Rehan was talking about. So we're going to talk a little bit about this, please understand that social and emotional well-being really go hand in hand. They kind of piggyback off of each other, and we'll see, and you'll see further what I'm talking about here. So the benefits of this emotional grounding and social connection that I just talked about, first of all, there's a bunch of physiological benefits, okay? There's been studies done that tell us that having a mind that is centered and a heart that's connected to people will actually give us longevity in our lives, right? Age, you live a longer life. In fact, the impact of that is as much as if you decided to quit smoking, right? Like that's the impact that you get. Emotional grounding also lowers cortisol levels. If you guys are any kind of science medical background, you know that cortisol is like a stress hormone. Our body releases that when we are scared, when we're stressed out, when we're nervous about something. And some of that is really good, and we need it, right? The fight or flight mechanism, we need that energy to do something. Too much of it, having it around constantly, where you're constantly stressed and anxious, is really not good, right? So we need to lower those cortisol levels, and that emotional health will help lower those levels. Emotionally grounded means you are in a place where you can manage your emotions. You're not, like somebody bumps into you in the hallway, you're not gonna be extremely angry about that, right? Like that, you're not gonna be triggered by that. You're not going to let your emotions, meaning you don't let your emotions control your behavior. Let's put it that way. We all get angry. Angry's okay. Angry and being violent is not okay. Angry and letting, a verbal abuse come out of your mouth, like all the, whatever, you're yelling, screaming, insulting people, that's not okay. So emotional grounding helps you manage your emotions so that your behavior is not, controlled by that anger or whatever it is you're feeling. I'm sorry? Yeah, it's just like, you've seen angry people, like they can't think rationally, they can't think logically, and we want to prevent that. Even to the point where, there's a lot of cognitive benefits to having this kind of well-being. As you get older, people who are socially connected, people who have their emotions in control, they age better. Their cognitive decline is less as they get older. And we see that a lot with elderly, in fact. If they have, and as you get older, you lose a lot, right? You lose your health, your strength, your life partner. If someone becomes that alone at that age, their cognitive function declines a lot faster. Whereas, maybe they have family, they have grandkids, they have a social network at the masjid that keeps them connected to people, and it really helps their cognitive function on a day-to-day basis. And it's a cycle. Like when I am able to control my emotions, when I'm able to understand what I'm feeling and not lash out, I'm able to communicate better. Like if I'm angry at my kid for something, and by the way, I have 5 kids. The last one is a teenager now, and I know it's challenging sometimes. But like if you can tell your child, if you can tell your spouse and explain why you're angry and communicate to them what you need instead of lashing out, that will get you a healthier relationship with your spouse or your child, right? And then if you're communicating, so you're emotionally grounded, you're communicating better, so now the person you're communicating to that you are angry at is not hurt, is not battered by your words, by your behavior. And so that gives you a supportive social network around you. And then once you have that, you have a better mood, and now we're back to being emotionally grounded. Your mood is good, your communication is better, and so it's like a cycle that really, really gives a lot of benefit on and on and on. So we need to really, really get clued in to how important it is to connect with the people around us, to talk to them effectively and communicate better with them. And all of that, you'll see the results of that. You'll reap the reward of that. I mentioned this already, just a few of the risks, right, of people who are, we called it emotionally dysregulated, people who are reactive, right, who can't keep their tempers in, who can't control themselves, who don't understand the feelings they're going through. These are the leading predictors of depression and anxiety in people. There's obviously going to be increased conflict when you can't communicate to your spouse, your partner, your child, your boss at work what you need or what you're feeling or why you're upset. So this increased conflict, again, leads to more loneliness. Your physical health would suffer. And then, you're going to have challenges in your academic and professional spaces, not to mention your home and your adult relationships and your family relationships. So, it's so much of this is tied in to all of these things. And he was mentioning mentors and connections. That's also going to be such an important piece for young people to, like, I do a lot of parenting counseling with people, and a lot of the statements I get are like, well, you know, he just won't listen to me, or she just won't listen to me, as teenagers. And the thing is, you have to be strategic. You have to be smart as parents. Get people, other people, who your kid might listen to. I was a Sunday school teacher for a long time, and I would do parent conferences, and the parents would come and say, oh, you know, Sister Jay, but you know, my child was telling me the same thing I've told them 10 times, but you said it, and so they believed you, right? But it's not that I said it, it just came in a different way. It was in a way that they were able to swallow it, okay? And that's what people need. They sometimes need other adults, other young people, other people who've maybe been through this maybe 5, 10 years ago, and not 20, 30 years ago. So this is, you know, it all helps. And these, we want to minimize these risks, right? We want to minimize these kind of challenges. And so what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to cultivate social and emotional well-being so that we have a better community, a better society, better outcomes for our kids. And the first one I'm gonna talk about is to get connected. And by that, I mean, you know, I see some youth here now, like, you know, if you find a club that you might be interested in, a hobby that, you know, kind of you're really engaged in, to find people who are also interested in that thing. Volunteering, I always recommend people, parents, kids, families, to volunteer. It can be at the masjid, it doesn't have to be, it can be at the SPCA, it can be at the food bank, the homeless shelter, wherever you can, do something for other people. And while you're doing that, you get connected to the people you're working with. And those are great relationships to have because you have this great common goal that you're working toward, and it builds connections with people, right? It builds those bridges. You also, in terms of getting connected, need to stay connected with your loved ones, your family members, your close circle of friends. And let me, you know, in this day and age where people are always measuring, you know, how many friends they have on these social media sites and things like that, please pay attention to quality over quantity. 2, 3 good friends, deep relationships are much more valuable than knowing 50 people, okay? Invest in the relationships that you have access to, that are with you, and nowadays, really, I recommend trying to avoid online relationships. And even if you have online friends, at least you have a few in-person physical friends. This is how we learn to communicate. They're doing studies upon studies now about how the generations growing up now, the digital natives, aren't able to sit in a room and talk to people, right? Because they just don't have that experience. They haven't learned how to do that. So it's important that we invest time in building relationships and getting connected. Mindfulness is another tool that helps with emotional and social well-being. And mindfulness can be practiced in a variety of different ways. Just taking 5 deep breaths is an act of mindfulness. And people do not understand how a deep, controlled breath is so effective at helping us calm our system, calm our nervous system. And controlled breathing, the reason why it's so effective is because when you actually focus on breathing in and out, you really can't do anything else. Because if you start thinking about something else, you're gonna lose the controlled breathing. Because if you don't think about breathing, you just breathe normally the way you always do. But with controlled breathing, like if I ask you, take 5 seconds to breathe in and keep it there for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, and then keep it down there for 5 seconds. I call it box breathing. You actually have to focus in order to do that properly. And when you do that, you know when I was telling you, like cortisol, it gets into your body and helps you fight or flight, and the kind of energy ratchets up? When you do that controlled breathing, you bring everything back down. You kind of relax yourself. And that's important because if you're, if you're stressing about why, I don't know, why so-and-so didn't like your post enough, or why people seem to be whispering behind their backs against you, whatever you're worried about. There's so much in high school that I think parents don't understand kids worry about. If you can just bring yourself down, get a little bit calmer, it helps to think clearly. It helps get oxygen through our body, and there's so many benefits of deep breathing. So that's just one way of achieving a sense of mindfulness. A lot of people will incorporate adhkar in that breathing, in that kind of meditation. There's so many different ways. Grounding itself, actually, like it's you ground your senses, right? So if you're kind of really see your thoughts getting away from you, you kind of touch something and you kind of remind yourself that you're right here, that you're feeling the carpet, that you're feeling the floor, that it grounds you in the present. You're not worried about the future. You're not thinking about the past, about things that you wish you hadn't done and can't change now. You ground yourself in the present, in the here and now, in what you can do. And it's really important to focus on the present, because really, that is the only thing you can control. You can only control what you do right now. You can't change the past, and you can't predict the future. So focusing and bringing your focus back to the present is really important. The parents who are here, I can't stress the importance of modeling good behavior. That means if you want your kid to express themselves when they're angry in a respectful way, you have to do the same. Because, again, kids will learn by what you do and not what you say. So if you tell them pray 5 times a day, and you're not praying 5 times a day, they're really not going to pray 5 times a day. Okay, you have to be that model. You have to exhibit that behavior that you want them to do. So setting up, giving them, showing them how to sit down and listen. Because a lot of times, listening is such a lost art. When we're talking to somebody, our head is thinking, okay, how am I going to argue against or contradict what they're saying? What's my reply going to be? That's what we're thinking. Active listening and good listening is where you're actually trying to understand what the other person is trying to say. Not just trying to get your point across. Not just telling them what to do. Like you were talking about, like kids, they always think that, okay, here comes another lecture, right? Like you totally tone out, you don't listen anymore. And so reminding yourself first, and then making, these habits in the home that are good models of behavior. Prioritizing connection, okay? And this one simple thing everybody can do. When you have dinner, put the phones away. Everybody should be at the table without their gadgets, and they should be talking to each other. And again, it shouldn't be lectures. It should be like, oh, how was your day? What did you guys learn about? Oh, did you see that article? Oh, something that's non-threatening, something that's, we're not talking about, oh, what did you get on your, biology assignment? Like that's not dinner table conversation. Let's keep it light, let's keep it meaningful, but you as a parent should come at it from a place of curiosity and not judgment, right? Oh, I heard about this. What do you think about that? So we oftentimes forget to ask what our kids are thinking about certain situations. And it's important to hear what they have to say. We sometimes talk a lot, and we need to kind of quiet down so we can hear what everybody else is saying. And so that finally, I'll just say, like, if, there are some serious situations where kids are in trouble, parents are in trouble, then it's important to get help. I know counseling and therapy is still, in the Muslim context, is still a little new. People aren't very comfortable with it all the time. But if you're struggling, get help. It's critical that you get help. It's critical for the success. It's critical for the academic and professional success of your children that you get them the help they need when they need it. Okay, we all focus on these measures of success, and we measure them by the GPA, and we measure them by the salary, and we measure them in those ways. We need to measure success differently. We need to measure by, is my child healthy? Is my child able to connect with people? Is my child able to have a relationship or a conversation? Those are also measures of success, and we need to start talking about things like that. And finally, I think Ustaz Mike was talking about what resources we have. Sakina does offer a variety of different modes of help. We have private individual counseling, we have marriage counseling, we've done support groups in the past. The individual and marriage counseling is free, low cost, right? Some is free. After that, it's low cost. It is completely confidential. Masjid has nobody has access to those records except that individual therapist who you're seeing. But currently they are virtual. We do not have a secure space yet for counseling, but we do offer all of these things. And if, again, it's a very easy number to remember. If you want to call and leave a message, somebody will get back to you. And I think that's it for me. May Allah make it easy for all of us. Are you asking me when does a parent's... I think that's different for every family and every situation. What I've noticed in a South Asian, specifically Muslim context, is we tend to think of our even 22, 23-year-olds as children. It's not the concept like here, like 18, okay, you're 18 now, you're out of the house, pay your bills and stuff. We don't do that. And so developmentally, when I go to my textbooks, yes, 18 is the age where someone should be an adult, but what does an adult mean? An adult means that, they're supporting themselves, they're surviving by themselves, and that usually does not happen with most 18-year-olds, and especially in a kind of a Muslim South Asian context, I think that's even less. Like, we're still paying the bills up until like 23, 24, 25. So it depends. But in terms of getting help and mental health help for a certain age, you can technically really like drag your 12, 13-year-old into a therapy office, right? You're not going to be able to do that with a 16, 17-year-old. Like, if they don't want to talk, they're just going to sit there and be resistant. So you have to kind of judge in terms of what help you can offer at what time for these ages. So I would always say, if you see certain signs, their grades are slipping, they're not sleeping well, there's certain signs where I would say, okay, we need to get this person. If they're the kid that's sitting all by themselves at the lunch table every single day, I'm concerned. Like, I need to check that out. Like, that is not healthy for a child, middle school, high school, to be sitting all alone at a lunch table. I have clients who struggle with that, and that is just a desperate loneliness in a kid when it's 500 people and they're all alone. It's pretty sad. So getting help when you see these warning signs is important. We put our kids in a double bind, right? Grow up, but I'm not going to let you do this, right? So we have to decide when our kid is grown up. We have to say that, okay, you know what? You're 16, you can get a part-time job, you can pay for your car insurance if you're driving. We can make those decisions. So kind of, and it's always good to do things gradually, so it's not all of a sudden overnight changes like that. But again, sorry. All right. I hope that answered your question.
Oh, well, in this career, there's certain things that you just can't control. Sometimes the weather doesn't cooperate. Sometimes there's a maintenance issue. Sometimes, the flight is delayed for whatever, from coming in or leaving or whatnot. I think I'll address the question as far as highs and lows. For me, realizing that I get to do something that I'm passionate about. Every time I step foot in the aircraft, it doesn't feel like I'm going to work. For me, that's the high. It just feels I'm a kid and I get to play in the playground every day. Do you remember what that joy was like when you were a little kid and all you wanted to do was go play? That's the feeling that I get every time that I get in the flight deck. Yeah. And as far as the lows are concerned, I have young children at home, so for me, I think this is a realization that, every time that I get to go do something that is fun for me, that's precious time that I'm losing from my children. So I often feel homesick and whatnot. So that kind of, really kind of recalibrates, hey, what is really my priority? So leaving home is the hardest thing. But once I'm there, I'm flying, it's something that I'm very passionate about. The frustrating parts are the things that I can't control. But I think I'll tie this into faith. Our faith teaches us to be patient, right? And so oftentimes I find myself doing a lot of zikr and a lot of self-reflection. And like Sister said, I do the deep breathing. That helps me calm down, and it helps me put things in perspective to realize, hey, this is not in my control. Wallahu alam. And I just leave it at that, I hope that answers your question. Thank you. So yes, I do recommend, I love it. But I will say, anything that you are passionate about, whether it's medicine, whether it's law, engineering, IT, in order for you to do anything well, you have to be committed to it. You have to, all the highs and the lows. What I'm experiencing now, it didn't happen overnight. It was a period of 30 years of experience, 30 years of failures, 30 years of, trying something and not really enjoying it or not succeeding in it, and then having the right people at the right time to help me and guide me to where I'm at today. And that's, once again, tying it back into this platform. It's amazing because we have this amazing opportunity to connect with various experts in various fields. I wish I had this when I was growing up, So I hope that answers your question. Thank you. Well, once again, tying into the whole conversation, right? Having a healthy relationship with my parents, when they instilled a solid work ethic for me. When times were tough, they really held my feet to the fire. They held me accountable for my decisions that I had made as a child. And everyone here can understand that. When you're a kid, it's they're murky waters. There are things that you just don't know. And when mom and dad tells you, don't do this and don't do that, you want to rebel. But I think my mom and dad were very good in the sense that they would sit down and listen to us. And like the sister was saying, we would have, no matter what, we prayed 5 times a day together. I was responsible for the adhan. We ate dinner every night together as much as possible. I think it was those values that were passed on, and those are the values that I still keep. And alhamdulillah, I try to, live that life with my family as well. Even though when I'm gone, obviously I take the time to FaceTime them. Now with technology, there's there's no reason not to stay connected. I'm gone, and at dinner time or right before bedtime, I stay connected through FaceTime. When I'm at home, we always pray together. We eat dinner together. We have those conversations that Sister was talking about. And that's what keeps me going. Now, my attention is turned to living that life as an example so that way my children can continue on and have a good household to have that example as.
I do also want to mention, like, look, when you think about careers for your kids, some of your kids will not find passion in their work. Okay, for some of them, it just may be a job. But as an adult, like, they have to have the training and the mindset that says, you know what, I got to go to work today. I got to pay the bills. I got to put one foot in front of the other, and I got to do this. So, you know, I hope and pray we all find our passion when it comes to work. I mean, I love what I do, and alhamdulillah, I'm so thankful. But it's not always easy. Sometimes there are difficult days. You know, it may be a difficult situation. It may have been a long, whatever, you know, the day before. There might be a family situation going on, or, you know, whatever. You're going through something. But giving our kids the ability to know that, okay, you know what? I have to do this. That, like, this is what it means to be an adult, to sometimes fulfill our responsibilities. So that also needs to go. Like, again, why do I need to learn algebra today? You know, like, kids ask this. Like, I'm planning to be, you know, something else, and why do I have to study this? Because it helps us develop work ethic, work habits that we will carry into the future in career and family.
Alaikum salam. Jazakallah, thank you. MashaAllah. Ah. Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing that you have an opportunity like that, that your parents are supportive of something that you're passionate about. I mean, you know, take advantage of the time that you have to be able to learn how to fly. It is expensive, so you're very fortunate to be able to do that. And when you're not, be around the environment, be around the airport. There's so many things that you can do as you get a little older. When you're, you know, maybe a year or two from now, when you're eligible to, like, have a job, maybe the first thing you do is you at an airport, you know, you're starting off as a fueler, or you're working the operations at an airport. You get to understand how airport operations work at a small little, you know, flight office or whatnot. You do the small things, and if you do the small things right, you continue to build upon the small things, and ultimately, inshallah, you'll get to where you want to be, you know? It's not, and realize that it's not an easy path. There is going to be setbacks, just like anything. If you were going to be a doctor, if you're going to be a lawyer, engineer, it's tough. You have to have the grit and the desire above it all. When it gets hard, you have to see the vision 20 years from now. Where do you want to be 20 years from now? If you can see that, then everything else between there and here is just steps you got to take. It's just time. Yeah. I'm glad you came. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm honored. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And specifically for aviation, I mean, there's different pathways. You know, you're starting off right now. You're getting ahead of where you're somebody who's just starting maybe at 18. You know, it's a very highly skilled profession. So the earlier you learn, the more advantageous it'll be later on for you. So, you're very welcome. Yes. So, well, so here's the thing. I'm a big advocate for education. Okay, education, no matter what, will never steer you in the wrong direction. I have a master's degree in business, finance, change management, and leadership. Specifically, is it required for my job as a pilot? No. But you know what that education does do? It opens other opportunities for me to be successful at. So aviation, while it's my passion, education is the groundwork that allowed me to do that. If that makes sense. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Jazakum Allahu khairan. Thank you for attending. Thank you, Sister Ziba and Brother Rehan, for your very valuable contribution. Alhamdulillah. Jazakum Allahu khairan. Somebody didn't call it then yet. No.
That's mine.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر